I was standing on my deck, watching the sunrise paint the Pacific Ocean that perfect shade of Malibu gold, when the silence shattered. My front door didn't open. It was shoved inward. Before I could even turn around, the noise filled the atrium. Suitcases scraping against my imported limestone floors, voices echoing off the glass walls, and the distinct, entitled thud of people claiming space they hadn't earned. My brother-in-law Cooper walked in first. He didn't say hello. He didn't apologize for barging into my $12.5 million home at dawn without so much as a text. He just looked at me, checked his smartwatch and said, "Penelope, listen carefully. Tomorrow morning and every morning we're here, I need my optimization protocol ready at exactly 5 a.m. The coffee beans need to be single origin, ground precisely 30 seconds before brewing. Water temperature at 200 degrees. Then blend it with exactly 1 tablespoon of grass-fed butter, 2 scoops of collagen and 3 drops of MCT oil. Not 4 drops, 3. I'm resetting my circadian rhythm and Summer refuses to touch the kitchen, so as the hostess, this is on you." "Got it." My parents, Robert and Danielle, trailed behind him, nodding like he was a prophet delivering commandments instead of a guest invading my sanctuary. They smiled, that tight, expectant smile I knew too well. I didn't say a word. I just looked at the clock. 5 a.m. fine. I smiled back, a sharp, cold expression they didn't notice because they never really looked at me. "Sure, Cooper," I said. "Optimization. Got it. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community." The alarm on my phone vibrated at 3:55 a.m. In the silence of the cliffside dark, the ocean below sounded like a heartbeat. I didn't groan. I didn't hit snooze. I slid out of bed with the efficiency of code executing a command. The house was asleep, breathing deeply in the guest wing where my family lay dreaming of their own importance. I walked barefoot across the cool stone floor to the kitchen. It was a chef's kitchen, sleek and industrial, designed for catering teams, not for being treated like a short-order cook in my own home. I pulled out the French press. I ground the single-origin beans Cooper demanded. The aroma filled the room, rich and dark. Then I opened the pantry. On the top shelf, behind the organic quinoa and saffron, sat a jug I had saved from a medical procedure 6 months ago. High-potency, prescription-grade colonoscopy prep solution. The kind that doesn't just clean you out, it evacuates your soul. It was flavorless, odorless, and utterly devastating. I measured out Cooper's coffee. I added the grass-fed butter. I added the collagen. And then, instead of 3 drops of MCT oil, I poured a generous, steady stream of the medical solution into the blender. I hit pulse. The liquid frothed into a creamy, golden latte. It looked perfect. It looked like health. It looked like optimization. I poured it into 4 mugs. 1 for Cooper. 1 for my sister Summer. 2 for my parents. I placed them on a silver tray and carried them to the dining table, setting them down right as the clock struck 5. They emerged right on schedule. Cooper looked energized, wearing blue light-blocking glasses and compression shorts. "Excellent," he said, taking the first mug without a thank you. He took a deep, satisfied sip. "You see, Penelope, it's about discipline. That's why some of us lead and some of you assist." My parents nodded in agreement, sipping their own spiked coffees. "Cooper is right, darling," my mother said, blowing on her steam. "He has such a vision for life. You're lucky he's willing to share his routine with you. You could learn something about structure. Maybe if you were more like him, you wouldn't be so solitary." I stood by the island drinking my own plain black tea and watched them. They saw a lucky woman, a passive daughter who had stumbled into tech money and needed guidance. They didn't see the engineer who had built a company from a laptop in a garage. They didn't see the strategist who knew exactly how long it takes for a chemical reaction to occur in the human gut. 30 minutes. That's all it would take. As they drank, complimenting the texture, I retreated to my office and locked the door. I sat in my ergonomic chair and stared at the monitors. The silence in my head was deafening. Why was I doing this? Why did I let them in at all? I pulled up my banking history. It wasn't a diary. It was a ledger of blood. I scrolled back 10 years. $6,500, every single month, transferred to Robert and Danielle. They told me it was for medical expenses and inflation. I knew the truth now. It was for gambling debts. Poker tables in Vegas, online slots. Bad investments Cooper had convinced them were sure things. I scrolled further. $150,000 wired to a vendor in Italy. Summer's wedding. "It has to be Lake Como," she had cried. "It's my dream." I paid it. Not because I believed in her marriage to Cooper. I hated him from day one. But because I believed in the sunk cost. That economic fallacy that traps us. The idea that because you've invested so much time, love, money, tears, you can't stop now or all of it was wasted. I had poured millions into the black hole of this family, hoping that one day the investment would mature into love, into respect, into them looking at me the way they looked at Cooper. But looking at the screen, seeing the zeros line up like a chain link fence, I realized the truth. It wasn't an investment. It was a tax. A tax I paid for the privilege of pretending I wasn't an orphan with living parents. I closed the tab. Outside the office door, I heard the first rumble. A stomach churning. A low groan. The purge was beginning. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to clean up the mess. I was going to watch it burn. The sound started as a low murmur of discomfort, then quickly escalated into a symphony of panic. From behind my office door, I heard a chair scrape violently against the floor. Something is wrong, Cooper's voice, usually so smooth and commanding, cracked. My stomach. It feels like it's boiling. Me too, Summer whined, her voice rising in pitch. Oh God, Cooper, I feel sick. Really sick. Then came the stampede. Heavy footsteps thudding against the limestone, rushing toward the hallway. The slam of the powder room door. The slam of the guest suite bathroom door. Shouts of confusion and distress echoing through the open-plan house. Penelope, my mother screamed from somewhere near the kitchen. The coffee. What was in the coffee? I didn't answer. I didn't move. I sat in my chair listening to the chaos unfold. It was gross, yes. It was visceral. But it was also the sound of my house rejecting the infection. Within 20 minutes, they were convinced they were dying. Cooper, pale and sweating, stumbled past my office glass wall, clutching his stomach. Hospital, he gasped. We need toxins, flushed. They piled into their rental SUV like a clown car of misery. I watched on the security feed as they sped out of the driveway, tires screeching, heading for the emergency room in Santa Monica. The silence that followed was heavy but clean. I walked out into the main living area. The mug sat on the table half empty. Napkins were thrown on the floor. It smelled faintly of expensive coffee and fear. I walked over to the dining table. Cooper had left his iPad. It was sitting right there next to his placemat, screen dark. He was so arrogant, so sure of his dominion here, that he hadn't even bothered to take it. Or maybe the urgency of the purge had just overridden his security protocols. I picked it up. It woke instantly. Because Cooper, the tech genius biohacker, had connected it to my house's high-speed Wi-Fi network. And because I am who I am, my network automatically mirrors and backs up devices that join it without high-level encryption. His password was his birthday. Pathetic. I swiped in. I wasn't looking for anything specific at first. Maybe just proof of his infidelity to show Summer, or evidence of his gambling to show my parents. But what I found was a folder on the main screen labeled Project Malibu. My breath caught. I tapped it open. It wasn't a collection of vacation photos. It was a dossier. PDFs, spreadsheets, email chains. I opened the first document. It was a loan application. A home equity line of credit. For $4 million. Against my house. My eyes scanned the lines. Borrower, Penelope Vance. Co-signer, Cooper Sterling. But I had never signed this. I scrolled to the bottom. There was my signature. Digital, precise, identical to the one I used on my company contracts. He had forged it. He had used my own digital identity, stolen from who knows where, to leverage my sanctuary against his debts. I felt a coldness spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. I opened the email chain nested in the folder. It was a conversation between Cooper and my parents. Cooper, the lender is asking for one more verification. Can you get her to sign the release form while we're there? Tell her it's for insurance. Robert, we'll try. She's suspicious, but she's desperate for us to stay. Just keep playing up the family time angle. She's a depleted asset anyway. Might as well get the equity out before she cuts us off. Danielle, don't worry, Cooper. We'll handle her. Just make sure the funds clear by Friday. We can't lose the condo. Depleted asset. I stared at the words. They didn't see a daughter. They didn't see a person. They saw an oil well that had run dry, and they were fracking the bedrock to get the last drops. The sudden visit. The reconnection. The insistence on staying in the house. It wasn't an olive branch. It was a heist. They hadn't come to visit me. They had come to liquidate me. The sadness I had felt earlier, the lingering guilt of the sunk cost, evaporated. It was replaced by a clarity so sharp it felt like a blade. They had already discarded me. In their minds, I was already gone. Just a signature on a page, a hurdle to clear. I looked at the timestamps. The loan was in the final approval stage. They needed one more physical signature or biometric confirmation from my IP address. That's why they were here. To use my network. To use my physical presence to validate the fraud. I set the iPad down gently on the table. The screen glowed in the dim light. I wasn't just a victim of a bad family dynamic. I was the target of a coordinated financial extraction. I picked it up my phone. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I needed something stronger than the law. I needed someone who knew where the bodies were buried. I dialed a number I hadn't called in 6 years. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. I almost hung up. My parents had told me for years that calling this number was dangerous. They said he would ask for money. They said he was unstable, an addict, a thief who had stolen grandma's jewelry. This is Ethan, a voice answered. Sober. Professional. Ethan, I said. It's Penelope. There was a silence on the line, thick with 6 years of absence. Penny, he said, his voice softening just a fraction. Are you okay? No, I said. I'm in Malibu. Cooper, Summer, Mom and Dad are here. They're trying to steal the house. I found a loan application. $4 million. Forged signatures. Ethan let out a breath that sounded like a curse. The Helix scam. I told them to stop. I told them if they tried that again I'd bury them. Again? I asked, my grip on the phone tightening. What do you mean again? They tried it on me, Penny, Ethan said. 6 years ago. That's why I left. I wasn't using. I never touched a drug in my life. I caught Dad trying to wash gambling money through my firm's accounts. When I refused to sign off on it, they told you I was an addict to discredit me. To make sure you wouldn't believe anything I said. The room spun. All the years of pity I had felt for my troubled big brother. All the money I had sent my parents to help Ethan get clean. It was all a lie. A cover story for their own corruption. Ethan wasn't the black sheep. He was the scapegoat. I'm a forensic accountant now, Penny, Ethan continued. I specialize in corporate fraud. I track assets for the DOJ. I've been waiting for them to make a mistake this big. They're at the hospital right now, I said, my voice steadying. I bought us some time, but they'll be back. I can be there in 40 minutes, Ethan said. Don't touch the iPad. Don't let them leave. I'm coming to help you lock this down. Hey, I said. Ethan. Yeah. I believed them, I whispered. I'm sorry. I know, he said. That's how they work. Sit tight. The cavalry is coming. I hung up. The isolation that had defined my life in this glass fortress suddenly shattered. I wasn't the lone survivor anymore. I had an ally. And not just any ally, a professional hunter. I went to the security panel on the wall. My house was a fortress of smart technology. Automated locks, privacy glass that turned opaque with a touch, cameras in every corner. I had built it to keep the world out. Now I was going to use it to keep them in. I initiated Lockdown Protocol B. The perimeter gates deadbolted. The garage doors disabled. The Wi-Fi network shifted to a hidden, encrypted channel, booting every device except mine and the one iPad I held. Ethan arrived 45 minutes later. He pulled up in a nondescript sedan, looking nothing like the chaotic junkie of my parents' stories. He was wearing a suit tailored and sharp. He had gray at his temples, but his eyes were clear and dangerous. He walked in, hugged me briefly, a hard, solid squeeze, and then went straight to the dining table. He put on latex gloves from his pocket before touching the iPad. Let's see what else Cooper left for us, he said. He connected a drive to the tablet and started running a mirroring program. If he's dumb enough to use a 4-digit passcode, he's dumb enough to sync his cloud backups. Lines of code scrolled down the screen. Photos, videos, voice memos. Ethan stopped scrolling. He tapped a folder labeled Insurance. What is that? I asked. Cooper isn't just stealing from you, Ethan said, his voice cold. He's stealing from them too. He opened a video file. It was grainy, shot from a low angle, clearly from a hidden camera. It showed my parents in the guest suite of my house. This house. Arguing. Robert said, if we don't get the money, Cooper walks. He'll take Summer and the kids and we'll never see them again. Danielle replied, he won't. He needs us to keep Penelope calm. But if she finds out, she'll jail us. Robert shrugged. She won't. She's weak. She needs our approval. And Cooper has recordings. If she pushes back, he'll drop everything on her company. The video cut off. Ethan looked at me. He bugged the guest room. He's taping them admitting the conspiracy. He plans to take the $4 million, vanish and blackmail them if they talk. He's setting them up to take the fall. He's double-crossing them, I whispered. He's devouring them while they hand him the fork. We have all of it, Ethan said. Fraud, conspiracy, illegal surveillance. This is a RICO case now. I stared at the screen, my family plotting against me while being hunted by the man they worshipped. They'll be home soon, I said. Ethan closed the laptop. Good. Let's prepare. For the next hour we turned my house into a trap. Ethan mirrored every file from Cooper's iPad onto secure drives. Cooper had bugged everything. Our rooms, conversations, even my father rifling through my desk. A full archive of betrayal. He does this to everyone, Ethan muttered, scrolling through a folder labeled Investors. He records compromises, blackmails. He's not a biohacker, he's a parasite. Watching Ethan work in this house felt surreal. He didn't look wounded, he looked vindicated. How did you survive being cut off? I asked. It hurt for 6 months, he said. Then I realized my bank account was intact, my mind was clear, and no one was gaslighting me. Silence isn't punishment, Penny. It's a gift. He pressed one final key. Done. We own his digital life. My phone buzzed. My mother. Discharged. Coming home. Have lunch ready. Even after poisoning me after plotting theft, they were still entitled. They're coming, I said. Ethan straightened his jacket. Let's set the stage. We moved to the living room. I darkened the glass walls and locked the house, except the biometric entry so they'd think they still had access. When they come in, I said, I want the big screen. It's cute, Ethan said. We waited in the dark. Their car arrived. They stumbled in, weak and confused. Penelope, turn on the lights. Cooper snapped, where's my iPad? I tapped my tablet. The huge screen lit up, showing a live feed from the camera Cooper hid in my molding. What is this? He whispered. Then the first clip played. Robert, she's a depleted asset. We might as well get the equity before she cuts us off. My mother, just make sure the funds clear by Friday. Cooper lunged. Turn it off. I turned it louder. A clip of Cooper appeared, him bragging on the phone about stealing the $4 million and abandoning them. The room erupted. My father attacked Cooper. My mother screamed. Summer begged. Cooper mocked them all. Their alliance collapsed instantly. Enough, I said. The room brightened. Ethan stepped beside me. My mother looked like she'd seen a ghost. Cooper ran, but officers entered through the front door. Cooper Sterling? He froze as Ethan called out, we have everything. Fraud, forged signatures, surveillance. Cooper deflated. The detective cuffed him. My parents stared at me terrified. Penelope, he tricked us. I heard you, I said. You tried to steal my home. We were desperate, my mother sobbed. You didn't care about hurting me. Only about getting caught. Get out. They begged. They cried. They asked Ethan to intervene. He refused. The Uber took them to a cheap motel, the last payment I would ever make for them. Outside, watching the sunset, Ethan handed me real coffee. Are you okay? He asked. No, I said. But I feel lighter. Like I cut off my own arm. It's phantom limb pain, he said. You're used to their weight. But this isn't loss, it's surgery. You cut out the rot. Healing hurts, but you'll live. What happens to them? I asked. They'll face charges. They're bankrupt. For the first time, they'll pay their own bills. I breathed in the clean air. I have a guest room, I said. If you want to stay. Ethan smiled. I'd like that, after we sweep for bugs. I laughed. It was rusty but real.